33. And now, Ross, I know there's a whole bunch of numbers out there. However, I don't flip the pages and look at the numbers, but you fortunately have done that for us. Give us an idea of all the different types of numbers out there. Some of them I'm sure will look good, and some of them will look bad, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, I've always looked at the numbers, but there's no reason to try to talk about the numbers because you can't quantify, right, a lot of things that happen. And you go on the media and you just get it from all sides. And I mean, sometimes I feel like the NRA blows it out of proportion.
I agree.
But a lot of times I feel like, God, the
media?
violence, whatever, the VPC or whatever they're called, man, I mean, it's just like, that's obviously not true. I mean, I think that I saw a statistic the other day that talked about there being like 240 something justifiable, right, self-defense killings in America, and I'm looking at the Texas statistics today, and there was almost 100 just in Texas, and so and that's solely based on, right, what the police reported, and so that's based on the police officer's conclusion. So, I mean, but before we get into that, I wanted to point out like a really interesting one that I saw. It has nothing to do with guns. I thought this blew me away. And I don't think everybody knows this, so I want to say this. There was almost $2 trillion. $2 trillion worth of property.
How much was it?
$2 trillion. Isn't that crazy? 1,945 million.
Explain what that number goes to.
This goes to currency, notes, jewelry, precious metals, clothes and furs, and locally stolen motor vehicles, office equipment, television, radios, stereos, firearms, household goods, consumable goods, livestock,
breathe.
all this stuff. And then what's the most concerning, I think, is I was reading on here. I don't know why I didn't. I don't know if I've seen this before, or maybe I should have already known this, but it's only like 15% of those are cleared. I mean, there's not very many of these investigations. Yeah, as I say, I'm in the wrong business. But then I was thinking, how many of those are really insurance fraud?
Wow, that's another statistic, isn't it?
So yeah, we could go do the comparison, but so yeah, and there was a couple of things here. I would think that so there's one larceny theft according to the DPS. I'm on the DPS. There's one larceny theft every 57 seconds. There's one motor vehicle theft every 8 minutes. There's one property crime every 41 seconds. There's one violent crime every 4 minutes. Okay, and so that violent crime is going to include some kind of confrontation. And so I think that really too speaks to the statistics about self-defense, because a lot of these, the only thing that's required to be reported as far as one weapon, well, when you're talking about what the police officers report, are going to be your homicides. Okay, so if it's not a homicide, they can list several different circumstances. They can list several different weapons. They can put unknown, as well as that. Those don't necessarily even have to get reported. Okay, and so they're supposed to, but they don't. I mean, it's not as big of a deal. And so we can have these situations where it's a non-homicide case. Somebody's assaulted or something goes on, and there was a use of self-defense, and that's never reported.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And so these statistics are only taken into account when somebody's dead.
Doesn't that make also a difference, the population that they're going? Like the state of Texas has a certain population. And then if you put those numbers into that population, I'm not trying to downplay it, but it may not seem as bad as if you had these same numbers in a population that was half the size.
You like per capita, I mean,
yeah,
like
however
right? It's like percentage-wise on a on a scale to scale.
If you go to Rogers and they got how many people?
Right, there's gonna be
1,000
nothing.
people, and you got numbers like that. Don't move to Rogers.
Yeah.
That's not the case. We're talking about the whole state of Texas here, right?
Right. No. Yeah, we're talking about the whole state of Texas.
I have no idea how many there are. There's about 4 million in Houston alone.
There's a bunch of folks. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I think too. I was trying to say, like, if that never gets reported, and so I mean, I think I read a study from the CDC. It came out in like 2012, and the president, I think, authorized it. I mean, they said that self-defense, knowing how to use gun use, can end up in a lot less injury to the victim. Right? He ends up in a lot better situation when he knows how to use a handgun.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, and so as opposed to not, and they had statistics to back that up, and so I mean it's just like anything else. And then I think that's when
Aaron's gun shop in mind, you know.
that's when everything kind of.
Did you like your class, by the way, last week?
Oh man, it was great.
That's awesome.
You did pretty good, man. I don't want to ask what my score was on the test. I'm sure.
Pass or fail. Pass or fail. You passed. Okay.
Man, I haven't taken a time test I think since law school, man. It was something else. But when you look at these things, I think there was an increase in violent crime in Texas. There was also between 10 and 12% increase in the murder rate, but there was an increase in the justifiable self-defense. It was like 100 people.
I got to throw this in the mix since you brought that up, since it was an increase. You know, the big thing is the immigration, illegal aliens coming across, and there's a lot of crime and some murders because of the influx of them. How does that fall into the numbers?
Man, I'm not gonna touch that with it.
No, I understand, but wouldn't that make a play in the numbers?
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, but again, how do you quantify this? I mean, how are you gonna measure this?
I don't know.
How are you gonna? I mean, yes,
I want.
It's easy to say both. It's easy to say that there's a jump in this. They're saying that there's these number of murders. Okay, so they're saying this was an unlawful killing.
But people have a tendency to look at the number as one big number, and they don't take into consideration gang wars, bad people in general. When it breaks down to the normal person, the good person, it doesn't usually happen. Of course, it's always going to happen in every aspect of life, but the numbers, I'm sure, get greatly reduced in that aspect of life as compared to gang members, street fights, the whole works.
Oh no! If you look at the statistics, and I maybe I should have got this one out. I didn't even think about it. But if you look at the number of assaults, like with other weapons, that don't end up in death, you're talking way more than what you would have with a firearm. And I may have.
That's what I was trying to get across. It appears, or it sounds like it's really bad, but if you take all the different statistics against it, it really ends up being where not that much happens with the guns if you consider those different topics, like they're gangs. Of course gangs are going to do it. Of course criminals are going to do it. But when you have a normal law-abiding person, the numbers are low, so why do you have why does the law get affected to a law-abiding citizen to be more restricted? It's crazy.
See, when you're talking about the FBI statistics, I mean, for assault offenses, homicide, there was 3,000. There's like 3,600 firearms used, okay, versus like 1,700 other weapons. This is not the mandatory crime reporting for across. This was their standard voluntary reporting. So it's not all across. It's kind of like from different portions of the United States, but it's just kind of a representative number. And so out of these cases, like 3,600 weapons were used in homicide, and 1,700 were not weapons. But when you then go to look at the number of assaults that there were, okay, it's like 42,000, okay, and 705,000, okay, versus 70,000 in firearms. Okay, so you can't. There's a big difference in what we see as far as who gets killed, and that's what I'm saying. There's so many times that a firearm is used for self-defense purposes where somebody doesn't get killed. And that's, in fact, that's most times. Most people don't die in a self-defense case. Okay? In a self-defense case from the criminal standpoint, plus a self-defense point from a victim.
Well, from all the stories I read, I have to back you up. They either miss or they wing.
Right, and they run off. They wing them. They run off. They subdue them in some other kind of way after the fire, or through a verbal command. It's like most of these cases, nobody's dying. So when you see stuff like saying, "Well, all these people get killed," that's not you're missing.
But the
vast majority of cases that is not the vast. Here's another thing that really irritates me. They're always saying like 300 million firearms.
A lot. Yeah.
Okay, and then they're saying we have this many firearms versus all these other countries, and then we have all these firearms, but yet it makes no difference. We don't have as many justifiable self-defense uses, and they make all these claims. But I can name like 3 people right now that I know that own between 30 and 50 guns. My point is, it's not like most households do not have a firearm, I think, in my opinion.
Well, they must not live in Texas then.
Well, I'm talking about representatives across the United States. Okay, I think, we're talking about for a household, there's a lot of people out there that own about 5 to 10 guns in their house. Right. It's like pets, right? Like a lot of dog owners are going to have more than one dog, or a lot of cat owners are going to have more than one cat. So when you say
an AR laying there, and all of a sudden has a litter of AR pistol.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I totally understand.
So it's not like everybody's got guns here. Most people don't, I feel like.
Ladies and gentlemen, the reason I wanted Ross to talk about statistics is because you always hear on the media and the news, gun statistics is like the Bible, okay? Somebody reads it and can pull 2 or 3 verses together and come up with some cockamamie thought process or belief and make it sound legit. It's the same thing with statistics on guns. Anybody want to push an agenda, they can find enough stats to make it work in their favor. And what I want to do is say, no, let's break it down to its basic element. Like the Bible, all these different religions, they come from one source, and they break off and branch off because they don't like what they were listening, and somebody takes all these basic one source of information, and they don't like it here, don't like it there, and they twist it, and they come up with all these different groups and anti-gun people and all that kind of stuff. That's why I wanted you on here to kind of explain and show how it can be twisted and manipulated.
Well, I do. Maybe it's, just for people, I kind of put together a little thing. I was not really, I got kind of excited about just factual kind of circumstances. I think it's kind of neat. So about 1,218,000 assaults happen in this representative. Right, the survey, kind of the summary that the FBI takes from around these representative police departments, and it was about 1,218,000 assaults. Okay, so in about 700,000 of these, the person knew who it was, but it was not a family member, and in 108,000 of the rest of the cases, it was a stranger. So, and then out of those, we can go down here.
It doesn't pay to know anybody then. You got more of a chance of getting assaulted by somebody.
Yeah. If you know somebody, right, they take advantage of it.
So
right?
I should become a loner.
And so then if you look too at the times, I thought that these were kind of neat because most assaults occur between 8 and 9 p.m. and it increases steadily from about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right?
Happy hour.
to 9 p.m. and then all of a sudden it starts going down, and then about 12 to 1. You just get this spike. You just hit this spike of assaults, right? And then all of a sudden it just dies. And so, I mean, I look back on some of my Saturday nights, and I was like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it makes total sense to me.
But then I would say that everywhere that you might think, are risky places to go, and Rick was talking about this about 2 shows ago, perception of threat. Yeah. Okay, so your residence, and almost across the board, your residence is the most dangerous place to be. No doubt, right? So I mean, hands down, most things are happening bad to people in their own house. Okay, and a lot of that has to do with the family violence aspect of it. Okay, but we're talking about strangers here too. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we're talking about rape and kidnapping stuff, which I didn't name the statistic on that, but those are a lot. Okay, in the residence. Okay, so but other than the residence, highway, road, alley, parking lot, school, restaurant, hotel, convenience store. Though, and I mean, they've got a list of 50 or more, right? But all the places you would think that it's a little shady, right? I think, that verifies it, because it is. It's those places: residence, highway, road, alley, parking lot, school, hotel, restaurant, convenience store, and for rape, the doctor's office. So
wow. Yeah,
and so.
Well, we heard about that medical.
Yeah. So I was thinking, man,
me too.
I guess that makes sense, but I guess I didn't think it was that prevalent.
You're looking at me funny, Trey. Did you hear about that story?
Oh yeah. The Nasser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you hear about the dad in the courtroom?
No.
He tried to get to it.
Don't
mess with
this girl, man.
No way.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed.
It's all on the news.
I'm so blessed not to have a daughter.
I miss that.
I'd be in jail today.
I can't blame him that much for it though. I mean.
Yeah. All right. What else you got?
Oh, say, I was thinking, for kidnapping is pretty consistent, from 7 p.m. to midnight, and like kind of from all across the day. But I think that the two biggest times to be worried about is midnight and 6 o'clock. Midnight and 6 o'clock, and then maybe noon are the three times to be on the lookout. And I thought.
Dead space. Sorry. What are we looking at?
We got.
He's got a whole. He's looking at his computer.
Yeah, no. So and then for
that's
rape.
That's what you call Phil.
So then for rape, for the overwhelming number, they occur from midnight to 1 a.m. obviously, but there was something strange about the sexual assault cases, which was a lot of them happened during the noontime. Right? There's so many of these rape cases and sexual assault cases that look like they're happening at work. I mean,
maybe they're on a lunch day.
Yeah, I mean, from 10 to 1.
Actually, to be honest with you, this is great information.
Right.
Because if you take this statistical information, let's stick with the women for now, okay? Because I have a protective nature.
That's what I thought. That's what I was saying.
This. If you if you've got all these different times, you can eliminate or reduce the risk based on statistics of an assault, a rape, a murder, a robbery, some type of deal based on the times that it's bad. So don't go.
Right.
So
and that's why I was saying this. It's good for people to know. Yes, those areas. You do be on your P's and Q's, so to speak, when you're in that area, as well as like during those time frames. I mean, because if you go look at the numbers across the nation, it's like you're like, I mean, wow, like this many happened during this time frame at this point in area between these people, and obviously men from 24 to 30 are extremely dangerous.
So now what a smart criminal is going to do, he's going to
I can tell you that, though.
He's going to look at the statistics and say, okay, a smart person is going to look at these statistics and say, I'm going to go at these down times, and now you're going to have a breed of smart, intelligent criminals who are going to go out there at those times and start causing
exactly
problems. Crazy.
Hope not.
Hope not. That's why Aaron's Gun Shop. Get your license to carry. Do some self-defense training. Be squared away, and don't carry your gun in your purse. Keep going. What do you got? What else?
I mean, I thought you had some questions for me.
The questions I had was the breakdown of the statistics, because I've got this article here. It's called "Gun-Free Zones Are Targets," and I call them victim disarmament zones. And this story was basically saying, this is from America First website here, but the author was basically saying that you all hear about bad news when it comes to gun, but if you heard about some good things, it might change the perspective of the attitude towards guns and just make it look better, the reason to have a gun. So let me give you an example here. He was saying, the media also tends to report bad things that happen with guns. Even mass public shootings that have been stopped by concealed handgun permits don't get much local news coverage. Here are some recent cases that got no national news coverage, but which is covered in the book. So let me read a couple. This is Lyman, South Carolina. June 30, 2016, 32-year-old Jody Ray Thompson started shooting at others in a nightclub. The shooter had shot 3 people and nearly shot a 4th person when a permit holder shot back, wounding Thompson, according to Fox 5, blah, 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 blah. Another one is Conyers, Georgia, May 31st, 2015. A permit holder returned fire after a shooter killed 2 people at a convenience store. The attacker retreated from the store, and the sheriff says, without him, I believe more people would have died. New Holland, South Carolina, May 5th, 2015. A man firing his gun approached a volunteer fire department parking lot full of children and firefighters. 2 permit holders stopped the attacker. Local TV station said, most likely that licensed to carry person stopped the deaths of children and firefighters.
But none of that gets reported.
That's what I'm saying.
None of that.
So when they promote these statistics that everything's bad, 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 if they heard that, yes, there was an incident with a gun, but it was used to defend and stop a crime, they'd have a different attitude.
And then if something happens spur of the moment, right, you catch somebody in an act and you pull your weapon and then all of a sudden they run away, but nothing actually transpired, I don't think most people are going to call the police. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
They probably should, but my experience is people don't call the police.
Well, I ask questions because
when it's not even when it's a no-brainer. So
I'm told by people who know, who say that basically when something like that happens and you use a Penal Code 904, which is threat is justifiable force, and you show the weapon to say that, hey, I can defend myself if necessary, and the bad guy runs off, the odds say that the bad guy's calling 911 saying, hey, some dude just pulled a gun on me. So while he's on the phone and you're calling up, you're on the phones together talking to two different people. So you better get your story in there first. So
yeah, but what are they gonna say? Why were they there? Why were they there? What were they doing?
Just telling you the stats.
And then when I'm gone, I mean, who's gonna say I did anything?
All right. How would you, if you were to explain all this, how would you explain to everybody what they should look for, if you can, when they're reading all these different articles on how guns are bad? What should be their perception on how they look at the articles? What should they be saying to themselves based on all this stuff we're talking about and how numbers can be spliced and diced and mixed up and moved around to make a picture look different than it really is?
One, where are they getting their information? But a lot of these places are pulling stuff from the government sources. So
would that be the Bible of statistics? Is the
no,
government numbers?
No.
Then where do you say this is hard factual knowledge?
I mean, technically yes, but my opinion is a lot of those numbers are not reported. I mean, you were talking about government work.
Enough said.
I mean, that's what I've already talked about when you talk about race. And I love the police officers and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't think any police officer says, "Man, I want to be a cop. I want to go to the academy because I want to do all this paperwork."
That's true. They want to get out there in the street and help.
They want to go out on the street. They want to get in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you become a cop. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, so they're not. That's why when I talked about the racial profiling documents, I said it's a joke. I mean, it is a joke. It literally is a joke. Like, there's no way to enforce it, and there's never a way to prove it, and they don't have to report. I mean, they're supposed to report it, but they don't have to report it. So what do you ever do about it?
So then it's a total farce. Why does it happen? Is it because you've got a group of politicians who make the laws and the regs get overcome by a group of people who feel butthurt, and they shouted loud enough where they make a law to appease them, but in reality it doesn't do squat?
Right, and you got to remember who's reporting this. I mean, it is the police officers. I mean, they're busy, dude. I mean, they got stuff to do. They're not gonna. And you think about it too. It's hard. It's hard to even write this down and report a lot of times. You think about, because the reports are going to ask you for the circumstances, and then, yeah, they can report multiple, but it's not as easy as you think. And if you think it's easy, ask a cop what it's like to get cross-examined by me.
Wow.
What is it like? It's not fun. Right? Okay, so I'm gonna take everything. I'm gonna say, I wasn't even there. I'm just watching the video, which I can't even see. It's all blurry, and I'm seeing all this stuff you didn't even write down. They didn't write down because it's in the spur of the moment during the heat of the battle. They don't. They're just trying to get. I mean, it's not. And so even those reports that get reported are not, in my opinion, as accurate as everybody thinks they are. Okay, so but even then, right? Again, we're not reporting everything. Not everything's getting reported, okay? And they don't have to report. Make sure you know what the underlying data is, because I'm telling you, you can manipulate anything. I actually like the data book for CPS and the DFPS. It actually is very telling, but I have cross-examined CPS workers using those statistics, right? And I was able to twist them myself. Okay, and so I mean, it's in, and trust me, what I was saying probably wasn't accurate, but I was able to twist those numbers the way I wanted to twist them, just to make a point that they couldn't use numbers to try to, expedite a removal, because those numbers can be twisted any way they want to be twisted.
What does that tell you, man? How does that make a person feel when they're going to a courtroom? They're thinking, we always talk about this.
And that's why we say
hand me that, would you?
Oh,
you talk about the personality of the juror, the attitude of the judge, the aggressiveness of the attorney, and the belief of the person who actually is in that position being defended or prosecuted against, to try and convey their belief of what they did to the jury. I mean, you got all these different. Then you got the black and white law, which is really black. It's faded gray. So, man, you're going into a courtroom with it's stacked against you.
Yeah, I mean,
they call them agents of the court.
Sometimes, like I said, sometimes you can take solace in the law.
Is a police officer an agent of the court?
If he's
yes, an attorney is an agent of the court.
It could be, yeah.
Agent, keyword agent. Agent sounds like a salesman going out there getting an insurance policy, or
an officer of the court, whatever that means. I never really understood.
When you look at it that way, I see dollar signs. I see the court system, the legal system, is one big freaking dollar sign. That's what I see it. And we're supporting it.
I still want to work in Cameron, so I can't say much.
Okay. All right, look, we got, I don't know, about a minute or so left in this segment.
Whenever you're ready.
What do you want to go over? I kind of hit a bunch here. I may have let
No,
you
I
cut you short.
think too. We got to realize that, hey, on as far as the gun sticks are concerned, you're going to have folks that the police officers right there are considering a justified, right, defense. Okay, and then we're not still getting reported those that they charge, but then give to the DA, and the DA says, hey, I'm not accepting charges. Okay, so we're not getting those. We're also not getting the ones when the DA says, man, this is dumb, but there's a lot of heat. I'm going to present this to the grand jury, and the grand jury, no bills. Okay, we're not getting those. We're also not getting, right, the cases where the grand jury, yeah, they find there's maybe probable cause, right, but then it goes to a jury and they say that it is justified. Okay, and then we're not getting, right, all of these that we've talked about where it's doesn't end in a homicide or somebody dying, and it's just a straight self-defense that either didn't get called in, like I mentioned, or one that got called in, okay, but not reported as anything other than an incident. And then you have the ones where it was an assault, but the victim used a gun to reduce damages, but that's not reported either. Okay, and so you have to keep those things in mind.
So, when you hear a story,
all that
when you hear a
cannot be
story,
reported.
listen to it with half an ear, and then go do your homework and make sure you believe what's put out there based on your.
And I want to say, I'm not saying that the statistics are good or bad. I'm just saying, at this point, I'm kind of like, there's no way for anybody to know. I mean, really, I think maybe we'll find out as technology gets better. But I think right now, both sides really just try to blow each other up. And so it's kind of difficult to.
Okay, well, that's honest talk. So let's go. Oh, I'm getting this time signal. Hey, you, Ross, tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, here in Cameron, 105 East Main. You can give me a call at 254-605-4140. That's 254-605-4140. You can email me at benton@watson.legal, benton@watson.legal, or just holler at Rick Dodd. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Compliment Dodd Craig's Law Firm sponsoring the program or segment. Thanks a lot. We'll see you on the other side. Look at that shirt, man. Crisp.
Is that all right?
It's good. Yeah, did
Good? All right, cool.
You leave it?
Yeah.
Really got to keep Ross in mind. Listen to him on air before it gets like he's
Well, that mic is not very strong. Sweetheart, you need to be in the other end. Hi, sweetheart.
Look out, because that was last night.